I think it's Eckhart Tolle who says that moment when you notice that you're noticing, that's mindfulness. That's you're there. So I know for me, a lot of times when I catch myself doing the negative self-talk or catch myself with my mind wandering, I'm like, damn it, get yourself together, pull it together, empty your mind, get in the moment. And instead, according to Eckhart, should be saying, good job.
Yeah, because that's the moment you stepped into awareness.
Exactly. Exactly. Again, these reframes, going back to self-compassion, that's a kinder way to look at what's happening. And it's also more accurate because it's not been distorted by judgment or these old stories that we have about who we are.
Welcome to the Herd is Calling podcast. This is where we break free from conventional norms to explore the art, science, and wonder of the horse-human connection. I'm Josh Williams, and together with my wife Victoria, we're your hosts. Our mission is to inspire and empower you to improve the lives of horses. Subscribe to The Herd is Calling on Substack for behind-the-scenes stories and unique content. Now, let's get to the episode.
Hello, journeyers. Welcome to our podcast, The Herd is Calling. What are we talking about today?
You're here. We're so glad to have you along. Today, we want you to give yourself the gift of self-compassion and reframe your writing practice as self-care.
I love that. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, let's get right into it.
Let's dive in.
So we're talking about self-compassion. What is it? Why it's important, and how self-compassion can help your relationship with your horse, which we know will make everything you do with your horse better. If you have a good relationship, if you've honed your relationship, that's going to make your riding better. It's going to make your competition goals better. If those are what you're doing, it's going to make your trail rides, but it's going to make it all better.
Okay. Now, this sounds kind of selfish and maybe even a little narcissistic, though, all this self-care, self-compassion stuff.
Well, yeah, I think it gets a bad rap. I think some people think of self-compassion as sort of a level of narcissism. It's so not the case, though. Kristin Neff is a PhD researcher who has been studying self-compassion for over 10 years now.
Okay.
She's got a couple books, best-selling books out about it, and heads up a big program where she teaches her work. And she breaks self-compassion down into 3 elements.
Okay, that sounds helpful.
These elements have nothing to do with being a narcissist.
Right.
She breaks self-compassion down to mindfulness, common humanity, and kindness.
Okay, mindfulness, common humanity, and
kindness.
Kindness. Okay, great. I love that. That's one of our... Do you remember that other quote? It's like the 3 secrets to life. The first is kindness, the second is kindness, and the third is kindness.
Yes.
I'm not sure who said that, but it's a really good quote.
I think William James. That's a good one.
It's pretty awesome.
The 3 keys to life, or the secret to a great life, are kindness, kindness, and kindness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a lifetime of research, working with thousands and thousands of people, and that was what it all came down to.
Neff is on to something with her research, obviously. So the idea of mindfulness allows us to gain perspective without distortion.
Let's repeat that. Perspective without distortion.
Yeah, it's like a clear reflection of what's happening without judgment.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful. One of our other horse trainers that we like, Mark Rash, says a mind like still water. And I think he borrows that from his Aikido training. I'm not sure exactly where, but it's a really beautiful analogy and sums up mindfulness.
Exactly. It's the good stuff. It's when we can look at what's happening objectively without getting swept up in it.
Okay. Good skill.
Right? The second element is common humanity, and that reminds us of our connectedness. We're not alone. It's 100% likely that whatever it is we're going through, whatever it is we're experiencing, whatever mistakes we've made, we're not the first person to have experienced this, and we certainly won't be the last.
Won't be the last. All right. So you're not alone.
In our struggles with horses and in our daily life, or just whatever's going on inside our heads and our hearts, we've got others that we can call on for support.
Okay, great. The herd is stronger together.
Right. Kindness is the third element, and that's basically just an attitude or a mindset of being friendly, warm, supportive. It's, I'm thinking, tenderness is the word I'm thinking of. That's a good word, too.
The world could use a little more tenderness.
Well, it goes back to the William James quote. Kindness, kindness, and kindness. That's all you need. Or the Beatles. All you need is love.
Love is all you need.
Yeah. All right. It's really difficult to be compassionate towards others if you aren't first kind to yourself. It's like the oxygen mask metaphor. You've got to save your own life first so that you can help others.
Self-compassion is hard work. Like, you really have to dig deep. You may have had trauma, might have feelings of shame, like really hard, dark things that you've got to go through. It's kind of like going through a dark forest in a way. It's a heroic journey.
Exactly. What does all this have to do with horses? The number one issue people come to us with is anxiety.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, and tell me if you agree with this, the other is self-doubt, second, maybe on the list. So a lot of times anxiety and self-doubt are sort of intertwined.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah. If you're not sure what to do, if you're working with a 1,200-pound animal, things don't go quite like you think they would, you start self-doubting yourself, anxiety creeps up because you don't know what's going to happen, just kind of this negative feedback loop.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we know that when you're feeling anxiety, that comes from fear. And fear comes from worrying about what's going to happen. And right there, you have stepped out of the present moment and you're not being aware and being attuned to what's happening right now, right here.
Okay.
So we've lost our ability to be mindful when we do that. And mindfulness helps us come back to that space. I've dealt with anxiety for a couple years now. I think the pandemic sort of brought it to a head for me. I've had a couple pretty big anxiety attacks. They're really scary and they're really hard. And one thing that I have been doing to help is a self-compassion practice. I think what I found is it's kind of like anxiety starts to build. And then often what triggers an anxiety attack is my own negative self-talk and self-doubt. That's usually what starts the scary spiral.
That's some great self-awareness. And I forget the exact statistics, but it's something like 40 million people just in America deal with anxiety, but 2 out of 10 are actually diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, which, means probably a lot more people actually have it, because to actually go in and get a diagnosis is some extra steps a lot of people don't take. So it's really common, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Right, exactly. And so for me, I found that a practice in self-compassion helps regulate my nervous system and keeps me from getting into those spirals, because self-compassion practice is like this magic blend of self-awareness and belongingness and then tenderness.
Okay.
And it works. So back to the horses, it's a win-win for us and our horses.
Right.
Because of the mindfulness and presence, like that's the most important skill when you're working with your horses, I think. That's the mindset that you have to have. Being aware of your body language and your energy, and being aware of your horse's body language and energy is the most important thing when you're working with your horses.
That's one of the most powerful things about working with horses, is it really is an active meditation.
Since I have really approached working with my horses with that as my core intention, my work with my horses has become so much better in terms of just the richness of experience for myself, the joy that I feel, just the fun that it creates, and then even the results, like the horses respond and do more for me with less effort. The other thing with mindfulness practices, though, is that they actually truly regulate our nervous system. And when our nervous system is regulated, we are calm. And that transmits to the horses and create reciprocity that keeps our horse calm, which then helps us stay calm.
Yeah, exactly. Because one of the languages horses speak is really at the level of our nervous system. We believe when people get out of the car at the barn, their horses can sense the regulation of that person. So
100%.
So if you can get yourself regulated, you're at a state of heart coherence where you can communicate and join and connect with your horse at a whole higher level, you know. Not that people can't connect with them without that, but you see horses get shut down. There's a lot of other things that happen that I think limits the potential to connect. Whereas what we're all about exploring here is trying to really connect with the horse at that kind of higher heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul, holistic level.
Yeah, that might sound a little woo-woo or a little touchy-feely, but it's the way. It's really what we're talking about here. It's the whole point.
Yeah, and it is very touchy-feely and very woo-woo on the one side, but then it's like pure science on the other side. We love exploring that intersection. We call it the center point of the paradox.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. Yes.
Hey friends, Josh here. We've launched a free community for The Herd is Calling. It's on Substack. Subscribe to join thoughtful discussions and access exclusive content. It's as easy to use as social media, but so much better because social media. Am I right? In the words of John Lennon, a dream you dream alone is only a dream, but a dream you dream together is reality. Like the wisdom of the herd, we are stronger together. Click the link nearby to subscribe and get in on the conversation. Now, back to the pod.
The thing with mindfulness practice and this type of self-compassion practice, which is a form of mindfulness practice, is the more you practice, the better you get. And the better your horse will respond. That communication creates more connection, which creates attunement, which then creates release of tension. And then you've got this affinity. And that affinity is where your relationship should come from.
Yeah, that's great. It's almost like that creates a positive feedback loop, whereas the negative self-talks creates the negative feedback loop that leads to anxiety and all the other stuff. You can reverse engineer that loop into a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, it includes all the wellness greatest hits. I mean, we've got mindfulness, of course, but there's gratitude in there. There's curiosity.
Yes.
It's all these reframes that say goodbye to the shoulds and supposed tos.
Right.
And what's going to happen and what might happen, and just put you in the moment with your riding and your practice with your horse. That's where the magic is.
Yeah, I think self-compassion is just such a powerful way to look at mindfulness. You know, that kind of gets left out of the meditation talk. It's almost like you just sit down and rise above it. At least I think it's framed that way a lot in kind of pop culture. I don't think that's really it. It takes that work of going through the process of self-compassion, which is really powerful. Something else I was thinking about when you were talking about meeting horses is that they have a natural state of compassion in the sense that they're not judging you. Like, I guarantee if you have the negative self-talk, self-doubt, those are coming from inside you. Like, your horse has never had any of those thoughts. And another thing, if you are having self-talk, is just talk to yourself like you would talk to one of your best friends. If a friend came to you and said, hey, I'm really having a hard day, this and that happened, how would you talk to them? Talk to yourself that way.
Exactly. I think we tend to talk pretty mean in our heads without even realizing it.
Yeah, without even realizing it.
We have this exercise in the journey where we ask people to journal the thoughts that are going in their heads in this one round pen exercise. It's always illuminating for everybody who does it. One of our students, he was shocked. He couldn't believe just the deluge of negative thoughts, just bombarding his subconscious while he's working with his horse. And of course, the horse is not picking up on the language. The horse doesn't understand the language that he's using, the negative words that he's using, but she sure as heck picks up on that energy.
Yeah, that energy, which again, I think some of that comes back to the heart coherence stuff that we talk about in other podcasts. But it's just a vibe. It really is a vibe, though, and it's a legitimate vibe.
And it goes back to the nervous system. Like, so yes, it's a vibe. There's the sort of woo-woo, touchy-feel, like you don't want to have that vibe. But our horses are hardwired to tune in to other beings around them because that's what tells them how to adjust or not to whatever's going on.
Right. They're master communicators on that level.
Exactly. So if our nervous system is activated, if we're telling ourselves in our heads, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're doing, what's going to happen, I'm nervous, the horse picks up on that and is like, I should probably get the heck out of here because this is not a good feeling right now.
Right.
And they can't articulate why. They can't say you shouldn't be saying those things. They just mirror back to us exactly what we're putting out.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
In its most naked form.
Yeah, I remember that story when our student came with that, and he just said he had to leave and just kind of sit down and collect his thoughts because it was kind of so shocking to realize how he talked to himself. And this might sound kind of weird, but when I was in a meditation, I got to a really quiet place and I started to hear the voices in my head. It was almost like I could see the person almost speaking them, and it wasn't anybody I actually knew. It was just like these characters, and I could see the person and hear the tone of their voice, and it was just like not my own. And that was it was kind of freaky, actually.
Yeah. Right. It's freaky, but then when you stop and I think it's Eckhart Tolle who says that moment when you notice that you're noticing, that's mindfulness. That's you're there. So I know for me, a lot of times when I catch myself doing the negative self-talk or catch myself with my mind wandering, I'm like, damn it, get yourself together, pull it together, empty your mind, get in the moment. And instead, according to Eckhart, should be saying, good job.
Yeah, because that's the moment you stepped into awareness.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, these reframes, going back to self-compassion, that's a kinder way to look at what's happening. And it's also more accurate because it's not been distorted by judgment or these old stories that we have about who we are that have been put on us by, our conditioning, by the dominant culture.
If you are meditating or whatever you're doing, just driving down the road, if you're having these thoughts and you're like, oh, geez, here I am talking bad about myself again, or I suck as a meditator, I can't even keep my mind focused on my breath, I'm the worst at this, I should give up. And even those weird voices I was hearing, which is a little spooky, look at those and just think, I wonder where they're coming from. What happened to them to be talking to me like this? Or have compassion to yourself for the struggle.
There's a book out, I can't remember both of the authors. Oprah is one of the authors, and she co-wrote it with a doctor, and I'm forgetting his name. We'll find it and put it in our show notes. The title is What Happened to You?
Right, I remember that.
Not what's wrong with you, what happened to you. And I think that is another reframe that is just, it's kinder and it's more accurate. I think we have this wrong-headed notion that kindness is insincere or it's not the truth. Actually, that couldn't be farther from the truth. If you look at how you would talk to a friend, if you look how you talk to a child who was hurting or confused or talking bad about themselves, you would do your best to convince them that that is not the case because you can see that it's not. They're innocent. They're struggling. They're just having a normal human experience and can just use some support.
Right. Be curious. Why? What happened to you? Not why are you so bad? Or
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so when we create this tone with ourselves, it's going to reverberate into our work with our horses. And we're going to have that mirrored back to us. I think sometimes people talk about how horses mirror back to us what we're feeling and thinking, and there is a negativity attached to that. Ooh, if you're acting scared, your horse is going to throw that up in your face almost. The horse is going to react. The horse is going to do this. Well, on the other side of that is, if you're coming to your horse with this calmness, with this kindness, with this connectedness, your horse is going to react to that too. And that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, something else that you've taught a lot is that the fear isn't the problem. It's hiding the fear is the problem. So it's okay. Like, we all have weird self-doubt thoughts. We all have weird voices in our heads. We all struggle with that. So don't feel like that in and of itself is bad. It's more just being curious and naming it.
When you notice it, when you become conscious of it, the fear, it brings it out into the open.
Right.
All of a sudden, you don't have that lurking mountain lion energy. You know, mountain lions don't come out growling and yelling and being very clear that they're going to eat the horse. They hide. They lurk.
Exactly.
They pretend like they're not interested in eating the horse at the watering hole when they're kind of like, you know, traipsing around and acting kind of sketchy. That's what the horse doesn't like.
That's a perfect analogy.
It's okay to be afraid the moment that you recognize it and acknowledge it. And we've seen in some of the equine therapy workshops we've done in the round pen, we have this exercise called reflective round penning. And when people get really open and vulnerable and let the horse see how they're feeling, the horses respond. They turn the compassion and the kindness that the horses extend to these people who are afraid, who are hurting, who are working through trauma. The horses actually are drawn to that. So it's not
so healing to not be judged when you're feeling those feelings.
Exactly. But the horse only does that when you allow it to be seen.
Right. You have to make the choice to be vulnerable.
And that requires a level of self-compassion. That requires a level of, I deserve to feel this way. I feel this way. I don't need to hide this. I'm not ashamed of this.
Right. Yeah. Vulnerability is courage.
Yep. Exactly. I think that's the whole point, right?
Yeah, that really is. Yeah, self-compassion is way up at the top of the list.
Yes. This is a lot of what we do in the Horse Journey program.
It really is, yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
And follow us on social media for daily inspiration.
And it's not just about following us. It's like, it just helps to be in a community of people who are talking about these things, because it's just like with self-compassion, you need to get it out in the open, just have conversations with people that are kind of vibrating at that level, because it's a whole different ball game. One direction is going on a negative feedback loop. Another one's going on a positive feedback loop. You need to have community. You need to have people to do that with. So that's why we do the podcast. It's why we have our newsletter. It's why we do our blog. It's to create community so we can share these ideas and grow and learn together.
So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. And until then,
may the horse be with you.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. We'd love for you to join our free Substack community for The Herd is Calling. Connect with us, engage in thoughtful discussions, and access exclusive content. Click the link nearby to subscribe. It's so easy and totally free. We appreciate you listening, and as always, may the horse be with you.